everybody, Invisiblekatana here, doing a full season review for Boku no Hero Academia, or My Hero Academia. Of course, super late to the game on this one, but I'm sure you guys know how it is with anime. Somebody comes along and drops that 30-month trial and it's like, well, for the next 30 days I am otaku, so decided to go full anime with it, and this anime is hugely popular. Like, it's been popular for quite some time now. It was popular when it was in manga. Like, I was still in college when the manga first came out, and it was already starting to build up back then. And I want to say it was like the first chapter because I was in like a manga group, and I remember reading it and I was like, oh, this is pretty funny. And like most manga, I was doing other stuff, so I never really kept up with it. And then the anime came out, and it was just like, holy crap! I remember reading the first chapter of this when it was like still just a popular manga that was out. So then it just blew up, and now they're in season 2, going to season 3. There's a game coming out. At least I think they're going to season 3. I don't know if season 2 is current or not. I have no real clue if season 2 is done or not, but I'm gonna start watching it soon. But yeah, I was like, you know what? I got this free trial. It's the next Naruto anime, as people are calling it, which is very interesting to me because I actually do love Naruto. So I was like, well, if people are calling it that, and typically people are saying it in a good way because I know some people don't like Naruto. But if people are calling it that, then I'm like, all right, I think I'll be interested in it. And like I said, I read the manga anyway, or at least like that first chapter, and I enjoyed that to begin with. So I was like, all right, finally step into this and check out this anime, and it was definitely good. Like, I see why people like it. Oddly enough, it was very Naruto-esque, which is really funny. Like, the first couple episodes, there's some stuff that happens where I was like, this is almost exactly like Naruto, some of the things that were going on. But, excuse me. Really enjoyed it. I think all the characters are really cool. Tons of cool powers and stuff. I'm terrible with names, so I really only remember like Deku and Kachan. And of course, All Might. But I was like, this is pretty awesome. This is actually really cool. I like the story of it. I didn't get too far into the story when I first read the manga. I'd only gotten up to the point where All Might like turned into like his, basically, back then, I just call it like his crackhead form pretty much, because that's what he looked like. It was really funny. But that was as far as I got. It was like, okay, so he can't be that way permanently. I didn't get to the part where it was like, this power that I have can be transferred from generation to generation and stuff like that. I just assumed, I was like, okay, well, I know Deku, he gets the powers. I just assumed that it was through like training, and he basically developed like this special ability that no one else could, normal anime sort of deal. But I thought it was cool. I was like, all right, I like the idea that it's actually transferred. It's not like I'm the hero of the anime, so I just trained really hard and then I got this power. But I figured there had to be some sort of some way that it was like transferred on, and some very specific conditions how to get this power. But I thought it was pretty cool. I liked the way it played out. The first half of the season pretty much is like the training and the build up to becoming this new level superhero, and I thought that was actually really cool. That was one of my favorite things going through the series, and I think that's probably a part of why it's so popular. It's done very well. The pacing for how the characters build up is really well done. You have like our main character is just this kid who he's quirkless. He has no powers. Everyone else is super cool, and all he ever wanted to do was be a hero like All Might. And so he ends up being saved by him, and then he realizes that this superhero is like somehow like this other super scrawny dude. And it was really interesting going through that process where he realizes no matter what, he wants to be a hero, and he goes in, and even though he probably didn't deserve it, he tries to save his old friend, Kachan, who's just like a super douche the whole way through this series. It was like him and that one super preppy kid that was like, basically his outfit is like armor. Really funny, like the way they do his face where he has like the pointed smile all the time, really made me laugh. But like, Kachan was just like insane. He's got some issues, like some real issues. So it was entertaining watching them go through, and it's just like the whole time he just has issues with Deku, where it's just like, man, the dude just wants to have powers and be a hero, and that was it. He kind of idolized you, a bit, in which they find, he finds out when they go through like their first test and everything. But I was like, all right, this dude's crazy, but main character, he wants to be a hero, even though he shouldn't be. He shouldn't run out there. He goes out there to try to fight this sludge monster that inspires All Might to go back into his All Might persona, and even though he shouldn't, once again, because he's we find out he has like 3 hours, and throughout the season it gets shorter and shorter, where it's like, I might barely only be able to do this for an hour now by the end of the actual season. And I like that idea too, because I was like, oh, this is progressing a lot faster than I expected for him getting weaker, because we have typically, when you have that situation, you have like the power balance where it's like, okay, we got a main character down here who's trying to get way up to the top. And then it was like, all right, he moved that extra step, he got that first hair, so now he has the ability to, use his powers and stuff, and it makes his body like just go limp, which look honestly, it oddly looked gross every single time it happened. Like, it wasn't that his bones were like completely shattered, but that's pretty much how it looked. Like, even if he didn't actually use, a certain part of his body, it was just like, he jumped. It was his whole leg. It wasn't like a part of his leg or anything. It was like the entire leg is just like flopping in the air. And I was like, for some reason, that just looks gross. It seemed like his bones were a lot more than just broken, because his body was just like just wriggling around. I was like, that looks, oddly enough, that looks gross. Like, even when it was his two fingers when he does it towards the end of the season, and like his two fingers, like there should be a bit more stability in there, I think, but it was just always like wriggling around. I was like, that looks oddly gross. Um, but like their power levels, I thought were interesting how it balanced. Where normally you would see a kind of transition, especially with this actual story. It's like, okay, you have, the super powerful character and then the main character building up to that point, probably beyond because they're the main character. And then it adds in the level of All Might, his powers like dwindling. And it's like, okay, well, that's interesting. But then it's like his powers are dwindling really, really fast compared to Deku's powers increasing. Like his powers are increasing the tiniest little bit. Like at the end of the season, he throws a punch and it doesn't break his arm, but then he jumps and it still destroys his legs, and he tries to throw another punch. And it's like, okay, well, he got that one bit of control and that was it. And his legs still failed, in the very next attempt to use his powers, his legs completely failed on him. So it's like, all right, well, his power is increased like the tiniest bit, so he can do it with his arms, most likely, but not with his legs still, because he has to, train some more. But All Might is just dropping in power every single day because, this insane wound that he had, which is pretty much what caused him to not really be able to use his power to begin with. So I thought that was really cool. I was like, all right, this is, and I don't know how season 2 is going to go, but with the way they're kind of playing it, if he loses the ability to do it for even an hour, at some point All Might is pretty much gone. And so that means that, we have our main character who's trying to get to that level, but he will not get there fast enough to replace All Might in time. So I like that idea, because there's going to be this weird sort of dark period where it's like the king of all heroes is just gone. Like he'll be there for like 5 minutes or something, and then poof, he's out of there. So I love that idea where it's like at some point this is going to have to happen. And I assume he's going to die. I don't know if that's why he's so popular in the memes. I don't think so. He's just an awesome character, which is really fun to watch. He is really silly, and the way he's drawn where you like never see his eyes when he's actually in like his powerful form. Always thought that was funny. Like he always has like a silhouette all the time, the superhero silhouette, where like half his face is always like in shadow or something because he's that buff. But I love how they did that. Of course, the end fight sequence with him was insanely awesome, which is the fight sequence that's basically in the opening of this entire first season. That's him fighting, I believe the creature's name was Nomu, at the very end of the season. So that was insane. Like, those last couple episodes were actually really good. And that was another thing that I think probably boosted this up, too, because it was like, this is already really fun. It gets kind of dark here and there. And like the Sludge Monster, I think, was the first episode. I watched it dubbed, by the way, because I was doing a bunch of stuff, so I was like, I'm just going to watch this dubbed and do things, well, that way I can just listen. But there are some parts, and I think the Sludge Monster, when it came in, I think episode 2 or 3, that was like the first time they used, they swore. Like somebody said like damn or shit or something like that. And I was like, oh, okay, I didn't think they did that in this, because it's like 3 episodes in, it was like the first curse word, and I was like, oh, that's kind of odd. And then, it's kind of normal, you got your Shonen Jump stuff going on. I don't know if this is officially Shonen, I assume it is. But they're going through, and it's like, okay, they're training and doing the normal, anime manga deal, literally training to go to superhero school and being in superhero school and stuff. And then it gets a little dark when they have the rivalry, but it's like, it always gets dark during the rivalry. They're doing their training thing, and Kachan and Deku, they fight. They have like a crazy battle. It's like, all right, that got a little dark, no big deal. That's normal stuff. And then it got to like that end. And it's just all these villains come out and stuff, and they capture Eraserhead, like, and this, of course, is a few episodes in, but they capture him, and I was like, oh, this got real dark. Like, there was hardly any blood in this entire season. Like outside of All Might, which is pretty much all comedic based. Outside of that, you don't really see much blood in this. And then it got to like the end of the season, and it's like, okay, well, let's just grab him, let's bash his face into the ground, let's just squeeze his arm, twist it and snap it, and just bash his other arm. I was like, this is getting super dark compared to the rest of the season, where it's like the only little bits of blood we got were all comedic, where it's like spraying like an unrealistic amount, and then it gets to the end where it's like actual villain stuff, and it was like, no, we can get super super dark too. And I was like, yeah, it got real dark there, and it's just like, I didn't know that if that dude was gonna live or not. To be totally honest, Eraserhead, I was like, I think he might actually die. And I, for a second there, like with 13, her like basically ripping herself apart with the black hole. There were a couple of sequences where I was like, they might actually kill one of the adults off, which would be kind of nuts to be like, yep, here's the end of the season, and it's absolute chaos, which it still was, even though no one died. But I was like, I don't know if he's gonna live. I don't know if she's gonna live once her powers got turned on her. Even All Might, I was like, that would be very interesting if he actually got killed at the end of the first season. That would be interesting, but that doesn't happen either. But like I said, like his power is dwindling so fast. That's almost my prediction at this point. Like I know zero spoilers, honestly, for the series in any regard. As popular as it is, I mean, I guess I'm not really looking into it, so I don't know spoilers. But it's just like, man, I think he might die fairly soon. If not in season 2, then season 3. But it's just interesting watching it, where it's like, huh, it's super fun, and kids training, it gets intense because they want to be heroes. And then this was like, yeah, it gets dark. Like people fight and people die and stuff, and you might see that happen here. So I was like, wow, this got really bloody and dark, and I don't know who's gonna live, who's gonna die. But the powers were definitely awesome. The action is just great all around. Like I said, I like the characters. We got like our couple of main characters, our actual main character, the kid trying to train. We have our main superhero character. Then we have the classmates, the girl who can make things float, the guy who, Ida, I want to say is how you pronounce his name, from like the really prestigious family, and he wants, he's the class rep and everything now. Him with his super speed, Kachan, of course, the explosive power to fit his explosive personality. And then we got introduced to some of the main villains, specifically 2 of them, or I guess 3, because no one did survive. So we got introduced to them, and then I guess the 2 leaders of them, and then there's like another person who may or may not be involved with the main villains that we've already seen, but he's like a weird, scraggly looking ninja almost. So that could be a totally different faction of evil going on there. But I like all the characters. I loved seeing all the action, because we got to see everyone's powers, because there are so many characters, and all the costumes and stuff look cool. And it's like, alright, well, we got like a tiny bit during the hero villain training thing, where we see like the kid who has both fire and ice powers, which I thought was really cool. I thought he just had ice powers, and it's like, nope, he has both fire and ice. So he's insanely powerful, so I thought that was really cool. We have the guy who's with Kachan pretty much the whole time during the last couple episodes, where he can like harden his arms up and stuff. I was like, okay, that's an interesting power. We have Sue, who has, toad abilities. We have like the short, pervy dude who is a hilarious character with like his weird like sticky balls and stuff. But I thought that was awesome. The guy who has electric powers is pretty interesting. And then we have the 2 ladies who were with him. I thought they both had awesome powers. Like the one girl who had like the earbuds attached to her ears, where she could like plug into the actual walls and like hear super low sounds. I thought that was cool. And then we find out that that's not her only power. She has like speakers in her legs that amplify her heartbeat into supersonic sound, or not supersonic, but just like sonic booms. And that was awesome. I was like, that is an insanely cool power. And then the other woman, because I was wondering the whole episode, I was like, what can, like the whole season really, I was like, what is her power? Because like it's not in her costume, like she wears like a random outfit. I was just like, what is her costume? Like they just made her like the hot character. So I was trying to figure out based on her costume. I was like, what can she do? And I thought for a minute that because during the training portion, she was, when she raised her hand, All Might was like, why is this person the MVP even though his team lost? And she raised her hand and went through like every explanation. I was like, maybe she's like a, she's a super genius, and that's how she's able to fight in combat. Because she has the book, like on her back, like she's got like a tiny little shelf on her back. And I was like, okay, well, that's really interesting. That's still a bit of a mystery. I don't know why that's there. But I was like, maybe that's a part of it. Like, she's like this insane tactician where she, even though she may not have super strength or super speed, she's able to utilize like every ability. Like almost like characters that have like super accuracy. That's an insane superpower. Even though you may not have super strength, you can pretty much dodge or do anything that you want to do. And it's almost like having your own form of luck in that sense. So I kind of thought that's what she had, was like, she's like super genius or something crazy like that. And then it turns out that she can make any non-living object, and I thought that was insanely cool. I was like, that is super awesome, because at first it was just like the metal pole, and then the other girl, she took out like a sword, and I was like, okay, well that's interesting. She can make like, you know, metal weapons and stuff. And then she threw out like a net like Spider-Man, and just like boom, captured them. And then she made like a giant insulated pad that like shot out of her back, and it was like a giant pad. I was like, that is actually a super cool power. So I thought that was really awesome when they showed her ability. I was like, that's super cool. The random bird character has like shadow hands that come out of the cloak, so I was like, that's super awesome. But I love the powers. The costumes are definitely cool as well. But looking forward to season 2. Definitely going to be checking that out pretty much after I do that. As I'm uploading this, I'll be, you know, I'm already started with like the recap episode of season 2. But this is definitely a cool first season. I understand why people like it so much. It's definitely awesome. The action sequences are good. The pacing is definitely well done, especially for the anime. So really love that for sure. You know, it was great with the training montage. You know, they go through, because I thought for sure it was like, oh, it's 10 months from now, huh? It's going to be like a full episode of him training. And then it was like, nope, they introduced it. And then at the end of the episode, it was the full 10 months had been up. It was like introduced and done all in one episode. And I was like, that is what I like. Because some things you just don't need to see. Like training, people know what training looks like. It doesn't matter. You know, if he was utilizing super strength as he was training, and so we got to see him use the superpowers, that would have been different. But him simply getting stronger, that we didn't need to see. You know, we got a montage within the episode it was introduced, and then it was done at the end. And it was like, okay, that's definitely a good way to do that. That keeps the pacing going because, yeah, like I said, everyone knows what training looks like. Unless he was training and he was getting new powers as he trained, and it was like, oh, I unlocked this ability. If he was eating the hairs as he was training, that would be totally different. That you would want to see because it's like, oh, this is the first time he used that power, and it completely failed. Like seeing him use the punch for the first time, and his whole body just like collapses on him because he used his legs and one arm. So if that's how his training went, that would be more, you know, that would have been something worth showing off, you know, as a full episode. But it was like, nope, he's just training, he's lifting stuff, moving, you know, cleaning the beach and everything. And it was just montage, all said and done. Kept the pacing going. Now he's doing the test at school. And I was like, that's awesome. Because a lot of shows, excuse me, will definitely, you know, especially like really big ones when they're super popular. Naruto is a beautiful example of that. They will pat that junk out. It'll be like, all right, here's this new thing. You know, this training stuff is happening, or even this non-training stuff is happening. There's a whole crappy arc of them going from this location to that location. Everything in between those two locations is not in the manga and is totally pointless. It's just them on random filler adventures on a boat. That was just so annoying to watch, but I watched it. So it was fun not to see that in this first season. Who knows if that'll actually end up happening with this, you know, being considered the new Naruto and how popular it is. I hope they still stick to shorter, or at least, you know, more concise, fast-paced seasons. So that's my hope for it. I think they did a great job with this one. I would assume that they did a great job with season 2 as well as far as pacing and stuff. But all around, thought it was definitely a fun season. Looking forward to getting into season 2, like I said. Of course, would love to know what you guys thought about the first season. It's probably been a minute. If you're checking this out, you're probably not, you know, just checking it out like I am. But if you are, I mean, I pretty much spoiled a ton of stuff. But, you know, spoilers, you know, it was in the title. So, you know, even though I didn't say that in the beginning of this video, it was in the title. So if you didn't see that and you kept watching, that's obviously your fault. But I would love to know what you guys thought about this first season. You know, if you have not seen season 2 yet, I would love to know your predictions, what you guys think about the scaling, even in season 2, because I don't know how far, you know, the story really goes, as far as the scaling of All Might and his powers, you know, dwindling. What do you think of that dynamic? Because like I said, for most stories, it's either the perfect balance where the characters just switch evenly, or just one character stays at the top. Like Naruto is a good example of that, where the characters are just, you know, they're the teachers. They're just as strong as they're going to be, and then they just teach the kids to get to their level. That's just, you know, really that's all like normal life. That's just training. But this is a different situation with, like, I give you this power, I get weaker, and even without giving you more of my power, I'm getting weaker anyway. So I would love to know what you guys think of that dynamic, because I feel like we don't see that very often in really anything, like whether it's anime or like even shows made in the US and stuff. I feel like that's something you don't really see from like the superhero genre, where it's the main character getting stronger as their teacher is continually getting weaker, and at some point will not be able to hold that like amazing epic, you know, level status. So I love that idea, because at some point, you know, he won't even be able to be All Might for more than an hour, and that's at the, you know, that's by the end of the season. So I love that dynamic just because I think it's so unique. I'm sure it's out there in other places, but it's not something we see very often. So I enjoy that, but definitely want to know what you guys thought about that dynamic and the whole season in general. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts about it, least favorite parts about the season. We'll love to know your favorite characters, why they're your favorite characters, favorite powers, all that stuff. There's still quite a few characters where we don't know what their powers are, at least by the end of the first season. Mina, the girl in all pink, it was like, okay, still don't know what she can do because they never actually show it. So it's like her, the dude who's dressed like in the all yellow like wrestler outfit. I assume he's super strong, but I don't really know that. He also looks like this one character from the anime Bakuman, which I thought was super funny. Like he looks just like this dude, except he's the buff version of him. So I thought that was really funny. Like his lips and his hair and his eyes are like exactly the same as this specific character. He's like the I forgot what his role is, but that's a story about two mangaka and stuff. It's a great story. I read the whole manga. That was amazing. So watch the anime or read the manga. But yeah, there's still a couple characters who don't really get a lot of play as far as powers. But I would love to know your favorite characters so far, favorite powers, stuff like that. And like I said, would love to know what you guys thought about this first season. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.